Chloe B teaches you about inclusive pedagogy. As educators, we all know the importance of implementing inclusive and ethical pedagogical approaches to meet the needs of all diverse students. It's outlined in both the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers and the Melbourne Declaration. Which is why today I'm going to educate you on a pedagogical practice which can help this process and give you options for differentiation based on students' learning abilities. But firstly, let's have a bit of a chat about the impact of inclusive pedagogy and why as a teacher it is our responsibility to ensure our classroom is inclusive. We all know very well that every class we get is going to have a range of students who come from diverse cultural, social, linguistic, socioeconomic and religious backgrounds, which is the exact reason we need to be proficient in creating an environment that allows every one of our students to meet their learning outcomes. The way in which we do this is through differentiation. We have to identify and address the needs of each of our students and work towards removing any learning barriers they may have. This is most effective when we differentiate the content, process, or product, depending on the student. When we apply these measures in a classroom context, it ensures the needs of all students are met and creates an inclusive environment regardless of differences, background, or abilities. An effective pedagogical approach that we can use to create an inclusive learning environment is called the 8-Way Framework of Aboriginal Pedagogy, which was introduced by Yanka Porter and Kirby in 2011. You might be thinking, well, we aren't just focusing on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students, are we? My response is, well, no, we aren't, but we can use this pedagogy, which incorporates Indigenous ways of knowing and being, into the classroom and use it to differentiate learning experiences for diverse students. The 8 Ways framework focuses on 8 interconnected pedagogies, but for the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to have a look at 3 of the pedagogies deeply. I will identify and explain a range of teaching strategies you can use when teaching Year 2 students about chance, using the pedagogies of symbols and images, land links, and non-verbal of the 8 Ways framework. This will give you a specific idea of how you can teach through the lens of the 8 Ways framework in mathematics, and how you can use this approach to differentiate, support diversity, and create an inclusive learning environment.
Hey Miss B, can we go do some chants?
Of course we can, Sam. Come on guys, let's go.
Okay, so first off I'll start with a learning experience that will be a great way to introduce chance terms to Year 2 students and uses the 8-Way pedagogy of symbols and images. It will firstly begin with the discussion of some familiar daily events and questioning students on whether these events are something that is possible or there's no way it would ever happen. This discussion would introduce and familiarise students with the terms of certain, impossible, likely, and unlikely. As a class, we would then create a symbol for each one of these terms. The whole class would have input into the innovation of these symbols, which would really engage their learning and set them up for success when learning about chance. Following this, students would be given some photos of everyday events. They would then use the symbols we have created to describe these events as certain, impossible, likely, or unlikely. Once students have completed this activity, we would then go through the answers together and discuss students' reasoning as to why they drew the symbols they did. Using the symbols and images pedagogy in this learning experience helps students grasp the concept of chance and understanding chance terms through providing a connection between the mathematical concept and a particular symbol. Rather than having students memorize phrases, the symbols provide a visual prompt to stimulate their thinking. This means that students will be able to describe different events using chance terms by linking this knowledge to the symbols created. By creating these symbols as a class and involving everyone, it makes the learning authentic, which results in all students becoming engaged. The symbols and images approach explored in this learning experience can also be a successful pedagogy when teaching students who come from an English as an additional language or dialect background. The use of symbols, images, and visual tools within the classroom can reduce the amount of auditory information given to students. This means that the symbols in this learning experience can provide students with English as an additional language another way of accessing and understanding the content. In addition to this learning activity enhances the learning outcomes of spatial visual learners as proposed by Howard Gardner. In Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, he said that spatial visual students display understanding by representing concepts through pictures and visual symbols, which is exactly what students are doing in this learning experience and therefore ensures they are going to succeed. It's a pretty awesome pedagogy, isn't it? Alright, let's move on to the next learning experience and next pedagogy. This second learning experience uses what students have previously learned about chance and encourages them to put it into practice. This activity employs the non-verbal pedagogy of the 8 ways. It firstly includes students independently getting a bag that contains an equal number of red, blue, and green balls. The students will predict what colour ball they will pull out of the bag. After each time the student pulls a ball out, they will write down their prediction and what colour the ball they pulled out was. After 5 turns, students will look at how many times their prediction was correct. Whilst this is happening, the teacher will facilitate the activity by walking around the classroom to each student and questioning them on some of their results. This learning experience is effective when helping students recognise what type of events involve chance by allowing them to engage in hands-on activities. It is proven that in the early primary years, students effectively develop mathematical skills and knowledge through physically interacting with concrete materials and manipulatives. The non-verbal pedagogy used in this learning experience encourages students to use kinesthetic and interpersonal skills and apply this to the mathematical concept of chance. This means that students get to engage and interact with the materials whilst also making sense of the likelihood of pulling out different colours. This pedagogy can be linked to Piaget's theory of cognitive development, which states that people learn best by doing something concrete first. It also has the potential to engage diverse students who learn kinesthetically. In Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, he proposes body kinesthetic intelligence as one which uses physical movement to develop understanding. Consequently, by using concrete materials and engaging students in hands-on activities, it supports the achievement of learning outcomes for body kinesthetic students. What an awesome way to teach chance. Alright, let's move on to the next one. This last learning experience allows students to use all their prior knowledge of chance and demonstrate their understanding of the concept. It involves the 8-way pedagogy of land links and can be used as an effective assessment task for students. This learning experience requires students to get into groups of 4. The whole class will then take a walk around the school and students will need to look at the environment and think of places or events where they can see chance. After the walk, students will stay outside and in their groups investigate some of the things they noticed which might involve chance. Each group needs to come up with 4 events, one for each of the chance terms they explored previously: certain, impossible, likely, and unlikely. They will then individually draw the event and describe how likely this event is to happen using these terms. They will also have to give reasoning as to why they predicted why they did. Students will share this with the rest of the class after they've finished their mini investigations. This learning experience is effective when helping students fully understand the concept of chance due to the student-centered and place-based nature of the activity. The land links pedagogy that was used makes a direct connection between classroom learning and the environment, which consequently boosts students' engagement and can promote understanding of the world. Through making the connection between chance and the environment, it makes learning personally relevant for students and deepens their understanding of chance. Using land links as a pedagogy for this specific learning experience provides the opportunity for students with naturalistic intelligence to achieve highly and creates a context that appeals to their learning. The pedagogy used is also highly effective when teaching students of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander background. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students have a strong relationship with the land, and when you link this with teaching mathematical concepts such as chance, it is effective in the achievement of their learning goals. Well, there's another pedagogy to create an inclusive learning environment. Well, there you go. In 10 short minutes, I have given you 3 examples of how you can effectively implement the 8 ways pedagogy into your classroom to promote inclusion and diversity. As pre-service teachers, I hope you all walk away with even a couple of ideas of how you can utilise this effective framework in your classroom. It is not only effective in its contextualisation of learning, but it also makes learning relevant and meaningful to the lives of students. Although I focus purely on the maths concept of chance, there are endless opportunities for the implementation across the whole maths curriculum as well as other learning areas and year levels. Thanks for watching, guys, and good luck in your teaching.